It's been more than 8 months since Parliament gave the go-ahead to explore land expropriation without compensation proposals. Are we anywhere close to an ideal model? Certainly the land panel has been something that seems to have taken a bit of heat out of the immediate heat, out of the emotions and the desires of the debate. The land panel is going to have a very, very big job on its hands.
Yes, they do, but I think it's, in my view, a very well-constituted panel. I respect all the people that are on that panel. I think they have value to add. And yes, in terms of reimagining how sustainable development can be undertaken in agriculture, I think various institutions are doing different things. I mean,
what's working? What models are working at the moment in terms of transforming the land issue in South Africa?
Yeah. You know what, Bruce? A common thread that runs through all the successful models that we have seen at the Land Bank is partnerships, partnerships, and more partnerships. Collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. We started off a couple of years ago as it was almost an experiment where in the Malelane area in Mpumalanga, we worked with a sugar company as almost a market anchor. And then a number of farmers around that area were then supported through a financing facility from the Land Bank. But we set up a special purpose partnership with this sugar company to provide agronomy services, business financial management services, and to support the farmers. So on an annual basis, they are supported in terms of expertise to plant and to choose appropriate techniques for farming. And then at the end of the season, the production is harvested and delivered to the sugar company on the back of an off-take agreement. That's
I mean, again,
example.
superficially, having driven through that part of the world recently, and you come out of the Kruger Park and you go through the Malelane Valley, I mean, the sugar is standing 14 foot tall, and you get a real sense that whatever is happening in that valley is happening very successfully.
It is, in our view. I mean, the one example I can mention, for instance, there is a private company which is a joint venture between an existing macadamia company that has been farming macadamia for more than 15 years in a JV with a black-owned company. And guess what? We have recently done a project in a place called Amajingi in the Western Cape on traditional land. And the key to unlocking it was, one, the traditional authority providing a long-dated lease agreement on the land. Two, the Department of Agriculture in the province providing a portion of the capital in the form of a grant into the structure.
And that's lovely and good and honourable, and it's the way things should be working. But surely the very uncertainty in land, and we've seen King Goodwill Zwelithini and the Ingonyama Trust pushing back very strongly against the sort of government's land reform agenda and demanding to be excluded from it. And you talk of this particular project now. Those communities can't possibly provide the long-term leases if there is no certainty. So they miss out on revenue, they miss out on the income. There's an urgency with land certainty, surely.
This particular issue of land tenure in order to enable economic development in rural areas, traditional areas, Bruce, somehow has to be addressed, and soon so. Because an interesting statistic is that as of today, still one-third of South Africa's population still lives in the former homeland areas.
You just got to go through Bushbuck Ridge, for example, to see the huge amount of money that people are pouring into building homes and around Bushbuck Ridge and around Mpumalanga and that sort of area. To see that people do have faith in the future.
Correct. One-third of your population lives there. But guess what? We had a conversation with the former State's SA General, the other day. Those are also areas that suffer from the highest deprivation indices. Not enough employment, poor health services, not the best of education quality in terms of school infrastructure and so on and so on. So somehow a program of economic development has to be undertaken on a very concerted basis for those areas.
But if we're not going to serve rural South Africa, urban South Africa just comes under a greater and greater burden as people give up hope in rural areas and move to cities that already are very, very stretched.
But even beyond that, it's about leveraging the potential of those areas, because studies have been done. Parts of the Eastern Cape, in fact, a greater portion of the Eastern Cape large land parcels still available for commercial farming purposes if opened up. The same with KZN, the same with Mpumalanga as well as Limpopo.
Has anybody come to you? Has anybody come to you and said to you, TP, I need a loan because I want to grow a little bit of Durban poison. I want to grow with beautiful land in KZN, a lot of informal agriculture in the Eastern Cape, where a previously illicit substance was being grown informally. Can we formalize the dagga industry in South Africa? Are we at that point yet from a land bank perspective? Would you fund it? Is it not potentially a future agricultural crop? It's legitimate. Home consumption is legal.
I'm not aware. The land bank has about 25 or so branch points throughout the country. I'm not aware of a single application that has
phone
been
your
come
branch
through.
in Siki and see
but yeah, look, let me not be presumptuous about it, but we haven't given it a formal thought inside the land bank. But it is possible that one of these days somebody might pitch up.
I mean, are you more confident today about the future of land reform in South Africa than perhaps 8 months ago when this issue suddenly exploded into the public sphere?
I am more confident, Bruce, and I'll tell you why. In my reading of the situation, I think the issue of expropriation, and I'm sticking my neck out here, this is just a thought. I think the issue of expropriation is going to land, one, with a review of the expropriation bill in order to make the explicitness that the president was talking about more visible in terms of criteria, what forms of land and so on. So that particular clarity, I believe, is going to come through in the expropriation bill. And in the second instance, yes, a constitutional amendment, I think, is likely to happen because of there's a political imperative around it. My thought is it is likely to be a less dramatic, if you like, constitutional amendment, more the one that paves the way for enabling legislation to be undertaken. And if that is the view, then I'm positive that very soon South Africans of goodwill will begin to converge and start implementing practical models such as the ones that I've cited, where people get together practically and say, here is a piece of land, it needs the following resources to be farmed, here is expertise in order to plan appropriately as to what the viable land use should be, here is an appropriate funding structure that combines both debt funding where required as well as grant-type support in order to make the project affordable and viable, and a host of measure of technical support services to accompany the entire initiative. Soon, I see many South Africans converging towards that kind of direction. And certainly in my conversations with the leaders, both in Agri-SA as well as in AFASA and in government, that's what I get as a strong thrust coming through. And that is that.
We must leave it there. Bongani is shouting in my ear. You don't want Bongani shouting in your ear. TP Nchocho, who is the Chief Executive of the Land Bank of South Africa. Highly emotive, highly political issue, but also a social issue and a commercial issue for the viability of a long-term future for South Africa, not only for the agriculture sector, but for the country as a whole. Your feedback via Twitter, please. The handle on at ENCA or at Bruce Business using the hashtag ENCA Taking Stock. Until next time, good night.